Hey, everybody, it's Dave here, and it's Wednesday, which means we're gathering around for the NFC North Roundup. Who will be king? And do I have a poem for today? Answer is nope. You guys get to skate out without hearing my dulcet sounds rhyming in a Rudyard Kipling style or something like that. So you count yourself lucky. Today, we have the 4 teams we're going to discuss, represented by 3 teams here. Of course, the team in the middle is they're too chicken to come on the show. So there, I said it. Hey, we're open for it, but hopefully they will come eventually, especially after they finish last in the division in 2025. With that, let's start. Who will be king? Let the battles begin. Gentlemen, welcome to the show. For the viewer's pleasure, on the far left, we have Pay from the Frustrated Chicago Sports Fan Network. How you doing, Pay?
I'm good, Dave. How you going, man? How's it hanging in Viking land, first and Skull?
Hey, it's going great. But to just let you know, I was listening to Courtney Cronin on 1100 ESPN right before this show. So we'll have some things to talk about on that one.
Uh-oh.
Ears have been blessed.
Yeah. In the middle, we have June and Foster from Bleachers to Speakers, hailing from the Motown City. How are things in Detroit, June?
It's a rainy, cold day in Detroit, man. It's been raining all day. It's been cold. I just want to say, man, I took a good look at your logo. That is a fire logo, Chicago Sports Fan, Frustrated Chicago Sports Fan logo. It's dope.
Appreciate the kind words there, Joan.
That'll be the last of the day.
That's it.
Foster, since you're the baseball premier guy on Bleachers to Speakers, is Detroit playing today, or did they get rained out?
Detroit is playing right now. They're actually in Seattle, where it rains a lot, but it's actually, the weather's nice there, and it feels like Seattle and Detroit. So yeah, we're hopefully mounting a comeback. It was 3-0, and we just got it down to a 1-run ball game. So to be continued.
Rally captain.
I wish you guys luck. Twins won their first one.
Yes.
Very good.
They beat the White Sox.
After getting slaughtered by the White Sox a couple days prior. Yeah.
White Sox going to turn it around.
I hope not. I put a lot of money on that under. Ugh.
Yeah, they gonna turn around and take what's coming to them.
Well, that's enough baseball talk.
Whoa, Foster.
We're here for some football.
Football. Let's get to football.
This is a family show, Foster. Relax.
Dan hit him in saying they got 5 inches of snow coming in Minnesota.
Oh.
I know, buddy. I know. I feel you, brother.
Man, that is crazy.
Not here in Texas. It's 80, but up there, I feel you.
Yeah, it's anytime, anywhere in April where it's snowing, I feel for you.
Yep. And
that could be Michigan. Let's be real.
That's going to be Michigan next week. It's supposed to snow next week.
I believe it.
But we're here to talk about football. And speaking of warm weather, the NFL's owners meeting has taken place down in Florida at the Breakers. And it's 85 and 100% humidity down there all week. And it's been rather nice. But there's been some news that's come out that we wish to talk about. First off, the rule changes. I'm curious on y'all's opinion on some of these rules. June, what do you think of? So what, Pay?
Oh, no, my mistake. I was just going to lead it off. There's as far as rule changes, I think this owners meeting, this is the first one of the offseason, right?
Yes. Next one's in May.
As we've come with rules changes, I think this one is more tepid than the ones we've seen in the past. A lot of things got tabled that would have entered up a lot of good discussion, right? Obviously, the tush push. Obviously,
16 vote. Yes.
Obviously, the any changes to the playoff seeding format. Those things will come back on the docket in May, as you said. But I think the one rule change that's actually going into effect, well, two of them, right? The chain gang and the kickoff. The kickoff, touchback spot. They're moving it up to 5 more yards to 35 yards. I mean, I don't like it. You all might feel different.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
that's great field position at 35.
Well, what incentive do you have to return the ball?
No, they're trying to increase the incentive to it. Rather than
the kicker is gonna.
Yeah, rather than blast it through the end zone and automatically, defense sets up on the 30. It's now the 35. The offense will be 5 yards closer. So it's going to incentivize those kickers to hit it in the landing zone so it can be returned.
How did that work out for them last year?
Most kickers blasted it through the end zone anyways.
5 more yards. Look, these athletes nowadays, they're all hopped up on sensu beans. They're running, they're living, they're live action figures, right? They're anime characters. They don't have no compunction with just blasting balls through the landing zone. Pause. You're asking them to tamper down their natural, ability. These guys were drinking protein shakes in their bottles.
These are kickers, though.
The kickers too. Have you seen some?
Not that the kickers aren't athletic, but
these kickers are. These kickers are freaks. I can't.
They're hitting 50-yarders like it's nothing.
Nothing now.
And hitting 60-yarders. They're going. If this doesn't work, they're going to have to move the kicker back.
Yeah,
have they ever moved the kicker before?
Yeah.
Okay.
That would have been more prudent. Move the kicker back. I mean, you're still kicking from the opposite 20, and you want them to kick you want them to boot the ball 50 yards. Precision, just so you can have a little bit more action in the kickoff return. I don't know. I think that was much ado about nothing. That was the only thing they could decide on, other than putting some old men out of work.
I want to welcome Northwest and, of course, from Pay's gang, Scottish Bear.
Bear down.
Well, there was a couple more they approved. They approved the replay assistant.
Oh, boy.
Now, this one I think is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
All they did was say, hey, if there's a flag, we're going to have somebody in the stadium the whole time that can call in and say, nope, you were wrong, and pull it.
Any flag?
Any of the reviewable plays. Yes.
Oh, okay. So not everyone.
No, not just every flag, but just reviewable.
So I need a little bit more explanation on that one, Dave. So the reviewable plays that are allowed to go, to the booth and to New York. Now they have another layer of oversight, is what you're saying?
Or a more consistent one. They experimented with it a bit last year, but it's somebody in the stadium, yes. That eye in the sky sort of deal, ref. And it deals with intentional grounding, roughing the passer, hits on the runners out of bounds, but only when the flag has already been thrown. It will not stop what happened to Sam Darnold last year against the Rams, where he's, in the end zone and gets his neck twisted around 180 degrees in front of 2 referees. It won't stop that because no flag was thrown. But it will be a way to hopefully speed up the process and go, hey, you messed up.
Speed up.
That's the thought. So it doesn't go to New York and we wait 15 minutes through a bunch of BS commercials while they come back and then they validate what the ref said on the field, even though all of us saw it. So we'll see. That was one. The overtime rule was tweaked. It was proposed that it go to a full 15 minutes and both teams get possession. What was passed was both teams will get possession, but it will remain at 10 minutes. So if one team takes 8 minutes to drive down and score, the other team has 2 minutes left to go match them up.
I got a question.
Uh-oh.
And this is directed to everybody. What would be the arguing point for expanding overtime to 15 minutes? Like who proposed that and say, you know what, this is a good idea?
To eliminate ties, I guess.
No,
Yeah, but
they wanted it to match the playoffs. Playoffs are 15 minutes, and it used to be 15 minutes in overtime.
So, I'm sorry. I'm assuming you said it's no longer sudden death. It's more so there is a clock. The clock is more, in effect now after this rule change.
Right, but both teams have to have the ball, get the opportunity with the ball. Mm-hmm. Once they've had that, then it's sudden death, whoever scores, if it's under 10 minutes.
Groovy.
Groovy.
Another one that passed is they are adopting a skosh bit of technology.
Yeah.
When it comes to first down technology, the NFL will implement Sony's Hawkeye technology in 2025 to measure first downs, replacing the traditional chain gang, your old men. Though the change will remain as a backup, this could reduce disputes in the game, a factor in the NFL North where every yard matters, especially when it in the sluggishness of a Lions-Packers game.
Those Packers are good for Those Packers are good for putting on a boring football contest, aren't they?
Uh-huh. Now, league-wide, I'm curious what Patrick Mahomes is going to do. Who's he going to appeal to? The camera's wrong.
Now, I dislike this one the most because not for the tech reason of putting people out of work, right? Even though they're still there or backup, and just twiddling their thumbs until the bots go down. I dislike it from a TV standpoint. When the chain gang comes out, that's high drama, right?
Yeah.
Just like you said. Well, who is Pat Mahomes going to complain? Who's going to cry to now? And give him the old, the $5 nudge on the backside, to make sure that the chains give him the first and the crucial down and the crucial point of the fourth quarter. I mean, he can't argue with the VAR system then.
Mm-hmm.
Pay.
All right. Now, we already covered one rule that was tabled. That's the tush push. It will be addressed in May in Eagan. There's an onside kick modification, a proposal amendment to improve the onside kick rates. Let's see how that works out because, now it's only you could do it in the last 2 minutes and you got to declare it and all that BS.
Yeah.
So we'll see how that one changes, if it does. And then the Detroit Lions whining about reseeding the playoffs. That one is tabled as well, which surprised me. I thought it was going to go burn, crash and burn, but it got tabled. They're still thinking about it. So it just didn't have enough votes to pass this time.
I think they said they had 16 of the required 24.
Same with Tush Push.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting theory. Like I said, I take the compromise that after the wild card game you can reseed, but the divisions has to mean something.
Exactly.
And I think that was the biggest argument against it. So
I agree, because if you're not taking away the argument that someone can get a home field advantage for a game just because they play in a weak division that year, or for that, I get that argument. But what if you play in a good division, right? A la the Minnesota Vikings last year. You play in a good division, but you didn't win it. In fact, you lost both times to the division winner, and now you get awarded a high seed at a home game just because you played a schedule that is not the same as anybody else's. It's not, what I'm saying? It's not a fair way to just give out the seedings just because you won. If everybody had the same schedule, I can get with that. But since it's a 16 set, well, maybe 18 games,
that's the next topic.
Yeah. But since everyone doesn't get to play the same schedule, I don't think you should put everyone into a slotted standings when it comes to the playoffs. The best way to do this is the one we have: division winners. You play the division more than you play anybody else. You win the division. There you go. Here's your reward.
Sarah agrees with you. All right. The next one, like I hinted at, was things that were under discussion, but no vote was occurred. The biggest one was 18-game season. That is coming. The question is when.
Wow.
The NFL's trying to get the NFL Players Association to enter or amend the current players agreement to do it. June, what do you think of an 18-game season?
That's a lot of football games. I mean, 17. I didn't think they would go to 17, but they did. I guess they're going to. I assume they're going to eliminate one of the preseason games.
Yes, they'll still play the 20 games, right? It was 4 preseason and 16 regular. Then it went to 3 preseason, 17 regular. It'll go to 2 preseason, 18 regular.
As a consumer, I'm all for it, but I just wonder, as far as the health of the players, how they feel towards it. Because, like I said, a lot of those preseason games, your main players might play a game of it.
If that.
So, if that, like the Lions their starting offensive unit, none of them took a snap for the preseason. Not a one, not a starter. Offensive line, no one. So, it's going to be. I'm very interested to see how the players in the players union look at this.
Well, they'll probably in the bargain get an extra bye week, 2 full bye weeks, which moves the end of the schedule out. So the Super Bowl falls over President's weekend, which would be great.
Yes.
And the players, I see, hey, more revenue.
Yeah, it's a money grab. It's you're going to get more bang for your buck as far as the revenue. You're definitely. I mean, who wants to see? I'd rather see a regular season game than a preseason game, and that's going to put more butts in seats and more people watching on TV. So I get it.
And the last thing that was brought up was a Thursday night football flex window. A proposal to shorten the flex notice period was considered but not finalized, impacting the scheduling for high-profile NFC North matchups and the rest of the league. But especially the NFC North on Thursday.
It also evens back out the regular season schedule to an even number, so you're going to get the same amount of home and away games, correct?
Yeah. Yes. Obviously, Foster's still stuck on the 18-game season one.
Yeah, we moved past that, Foster. For the people watching,
I didn't get to get in on that one. The
views by B. Foster are strictly the views of B. Foster, have no association with Bleachers to Speakers whatsoever. See him go off course. This is strictly B. Foster.
That's right.
But the problem with this rule is you may be scheduled to play Sunday at noon and suddenly, bam, you're now playing Thursday night with very little notice.
I think both of the last two rules discussions, Dave, the 18-gamer and this Thursday flex, they don't go in the best. They're not the best consideration for labor, right? But obviously, labor is their hands tied. The players, they're going to eventually they're going to get the short end of the stick. Obviously, with Thursday and with the 18 games, they know what's coming. They've been floating 18 games for more than 10 years. It's only a matter of when, right? And we're the closest that we're ever going to get to it. 14 games. They were playing 14 games not that long ago. And it's just ever so much. Once the money started becoming a real thing in the NFL, it's no stopping that train.
Foster, when I was a kid, they played 12.
Yeah.
Wait, when was it 14, though? Seriously. That wasn't in the 90s.
Last season they played 14 was 1978.
Oh, that was
Shut up.
You said it wasn't that long ago. That was 40 years ago.
Stop by your head, Foss. just leave it alone.
Well, that was the rules portion of the show. And for those that are watching, we're going to be right back. For those that are listening, you're going to hear a little bit from our sponsors. And our sponsors, we like when you listen because we get a wee little bit of revenue from that. And it keeps me and my whiskey and Foster and his high dollar beer and pay and his Hennessy.
All OnlyFans.
Yeah. So we'll be right back. And we're back. Now, through the fun part, and now let's get into team specific. I normally start with the Bears, but let's start with the Lions. They had your GM, Brad Holmes, had an interview. Your head coach, Dan Campbell, probably had a series of interviews. What came out of the owners' meeting from those two?
I didn't get a chance to watch it. I saw some clips, and there was one that really caught my attention about J-Mo and the possible extension of J-Mo or lack of contract extension for J-Mo. Whenever Brad Holmes talked about there's a what was that called? An option year.
Right.
And the contract extension wasn't guaranteed for J-Mo. He all but said that. So I found that very, very interesting. Very interesting. Foster, I don't know if you watched any of it.
Yeah, I kind of got a gist of what was going on. He Brad Holmes definitely, he said that they're interested in picking up the 5th-year option for JMO, but that he has, he's still going to have to prove himself, and because I think he was quoted as saying that wide receivers are expensive. Brad Holmes is very, he speaks very off the cuff. He's pretty blunt about things. So, yeah, he was pretty frank about his thoughts on, extending, JMO, and that he still has to prove himself some. He emphasized wanting to save as much money to extend contracts from within the organization. What else? Yeah,
So that means you aren't doing any more free agents.
Yeah, not likely.
If it makes
well, June, you can probably elaborate more on the Zadarius Smith side of things, because he definitely touched on that.
Ultimately, Zadarius Smith would have cost 15 to 16 million. And he's been in talks with his agent if he's willing to come back and renegotiate it. I mean, at a better price. Brad is all for it, but he wasn't for. If he'd have stayed this year, it would have been a $15 or $16 million cap hit. So he was just better off, in his opinion, just to cut tie. I mean, cut void the contract, do whatever, and try to get him back. But he has been in contact with his agent. There has been talks, but I just put it like this. If we could get Brad Holmes to do our personal grocery shopping, we would save a lot of money, because his free agent spending is, oh man, he's tighter than panties on a man. He's not spending anything
on a man.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah, he said, but he did say that he was pleased with what he was able to accomplish. As far as he said that they accomplished more than he thought they would be able to, especially with the cornerback market being so high, and the entry level for top end cornerbacks was $16 million. So given that, I think he said that he feels like they've made out pretty good. He was also really pleased with being able to get back Levi Onwuzurike on a reasonable deal. But he said that he's pretty comfortable with the pass rush situation, with us obviously looking to add on to that via the draft. But yeah, he's pretty. He's not one to spend a lot of money in free agency. He's really into the players that he drafts and the players that he develops.
And he never has been. He's never been a big spender in free agent for the Lions, of course, at least. I don't know what he did when he was at the Rams, but as far as the Lions, never really went out in the free agent market and acquired somebody that cost a bunch of money. That's just not his MO.
Now
not exactly.
Yeah. With Smith, Zadarius, could they be waiting until after the draft so it doesn't affect the comp pick formula? It seems more and more teams are playing that game.
Could be,
as long as Zadarius wants to wait.
I mean, he has a woman that's from Detroit, and we're hoping that he really likes her and wants to stay around.
Hey,
not that he can't get to her when he need her.
Cash doll, if you mess this up, you got one job, baby.
Now I also heard he was praising Hutch's rehab. True?
Yeah. He was like just really amazed on the recovery. All the work he's put in to get to this point. He was running sprints a month and a half ago. So it's a good sign. It's a good sign. And then you have some fans, Dave. I heard one fan say a couple weeks ago that Hutch wouldn't be ready until about week 7 or 8. And I'm like, where did you get that from? He's running sprints a month ago. What are you talking about? I think I actually thought he might have had him mixed up with Aleem McNeil, and that's another thing that came out. He was mentioned that Aleem McNeil wouldn't be back until midway in the season. We kind of figured that though. Torn ACL for a big fella, that's not a 7 or 8 month injury. That's usually a year. So we we don't expect him back until past the midpoint season, and that's what Coach Campbell was talking about as far as Aleem McNeil. That's what he chimed in on one of the points, one of the clips that I saw, and that was to be expected.
Gotcha. Now, flipping over to Wisconsin, this relates to Detroit. Brian Gutekunst was echoing what LaFleur was saying about the tush push. They're still whining, so just let you know that. But has hinted at targeting a defensive lineman or linebacker in the draft to counter the Detroit Lions' physical play. You hear that, Pay? Sounds like Green Bay's calling us soft.
The Packers got some nerve, Dave. They think that they can get up on a podium and basically say that we're going to make moves to counter, as you said, what they got going on in Detroit, and basically disrespecting you. I already know how they feel about the Bears, because the Bears own them. They ain't beat the Bears all year, and it's been a long time since they beat the Bears. So I already know where the hard feelings come from. But they got some nerve, like I said. Packers aren't tough. Packers are not tough. They've won a half of game in the division last year. You need to slow your roll, Cheese Whiz, Cheez-Its from Wisconsin. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Win a game.
I know.
Win a game on some merit before you start, throwing shade.
Now, but staying in Chicago, what about Ryan Poles? What did he say?
Ryan Poles, his interview at the owners' meeting wasn't as illuminating as what his boss had to say. Basically, it was a full-on thing that what we've been doing ever since we hired Ben Johnson. That's pretty much what this press conference from Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren, but for the most part, it's just the more of the same, the throating of Ben Johnson, the glazing of how smart he is, how passionate he is, how much he, Big Foster, how much he relates to the players, how much of he's a brilliant football mind. Okay, this was cool last month, and it was great in February. I got it. I agree. Cool, but after April 1st, after April Fool's Day, let's find something else. We gotta do something else. All right, no more. Let's leave Ben Johnson's alone.
Okay.
You caught that, huh?
That was good.
Speaking of Kevin Warren, his press conference came in two parts. Obviously, the glazing of BJ.
Glazed.
And
the proper term fellatio, but yeah, okay.
The proper
on-air fellatio, yes.
Go there. But also Arlington Heights, Dave.
Aha! I was going to get to that.
Yeah, as a sad Bears fan, it's become more and more like a reality that the Bears are going to leave Chicago. They are going to Arlington Heights. They just cannot figure out a way to get a stadium deal along Lake Michigan and stay within the city limits where they've been for over 100 years.
106.
106 years, Dave. They've played at Soldier Field for going on 100. About 80 years. They've been at Soldier Field for about 80 years. It's going to be sad to see them go, but they are going to go to a state of the art. This is what Kevin Warren says. They're going to make a Bears city inside of Arlington Heights. And that's what you need to compete in this new age of sports business. You need to do the things that we talked about off air. What the St. Louis Cardinals did in downtown St. Louis, things like that. You have a whole village that's just pumping money into the central focal point of that little area, which would, in this case would be the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Cubs just did it a decade ago when they switched owners from Sam Zell to the Ricketts family. They redid the whole Wrigleyville, which is already a vibrant area. They redid it. Hotels, new restaurants, museums, attractions galore. They put a sports book over there. It's just money on top of money. And as we've seen more and more the last, when was Inauguration Day? Ever since Inauguration Day, you see it's money first, feelings later. And my feelings are definitely hurt at that Brian Johnson, current mayor of Chicago, is going to go down as the guy that lost the Bears to Arlington Heights. Don't know the mayor name out there. They today was election day. So the mayor in Arlington Heights might be someone new. He's getting a present.
Well, it's going to be interesting. Before the game or before the show, we were talking. I was listening to Courtney Cronin on 1100 at ESPN in Chicago, and she said Warner and McCaskey were at that point. They're making the decision. They own the land in Arlington Heights, and it's not moving forward in Chicago. So they expect to have a decision by the end of 2025.
Yeah. Yeah, all intents and purposes, I think it's more of a I think it's, they're holding out. This is more of a football term. It's fourth and long. Chicago's got to pull out a Hail Mary. They got to do a Jaden Daniels. They got to do something. They got to do something that you wouldn't believe to keep the Bears in Chicago. And since I've seen Jaden Daniels pull off a Hail Mary that he had no business doing, fingers crossed. Fingers crossed that they can get it done. Chicago stays in Chicago.
Oh, we're going to find out. No, but speaking of the interview, and was it Brian McCaskey is the owner? He's debating on whether to sell the team. He's reevaluating that.
Yeah, we talked about this a few
episodes ago.
After Virginia's, rest in peace. After she passed, the whole idea of a succession plan. Not oligarchs, but wealthy people always do this. They have a plan of where they want their assets to go after they pass. And the NFL and all of the United States sports leagues, they make you set up a succession plan, especially the older you are, the more that is vital. Mike McCaskey at the owners' meeting, he broke down in front of the media. He got all sensitive and emotional about talking with his mother, and I think he said it was one of the last conversations they had about how they have a plan of keeping the Bears in the McCaskey family for the next 100 years. And I know some Bears fans might not like that news because in Chicago there's a thing where we wait. Not me. I don't do this, but there's a thing in Chicago where the sports fans, they wait out the life expectancy of some of the owners and hope that there's going to be a change. It's rough in Chicago. It's very rough.
That's a lot.
I see that. I see why you try to remove yourself. Like,
it's not me.
I mean,
not me.
You don't want that spirit on you.
That's some 60-30 and type stuff there.
Nope, not even them. Well, they might handle business their own. But a lot of fans would prefer, especially prior to this offseason, a lot of fans wanted McCaskey's away from the Bears. And it's been like that for going on 40 years, Dave.
Mm-hmm.
This is the 40th anniversary of the Super Bowl, or Super Bowl win. So it hasn't been a harmonious ownership tenure for the McCaskeys ever since Virginia took over from her dad, which was 43 years ago. But rest assured, we never have to worry about an ownership change with the plan in place because McCaskeys and the Bears are locked in.
Well, we do hope it works out for you. And you do develop a Bears city. It started in Eagan. The Wilfs built around our practice facility, which was Northwest Airlines, their old headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
Built the practice facility, built the museum, built hotels, which now host once a year the owners' meetings, built condos and all sorts of other stuff. And it's a wonderful environment. And I hope you guys have a wonderful environment. And it attracts good players and improves the culture, and you guys can actually win one here in the next 40 years.
I don't want to wait for any more. That was interesting that you said that, Dave. Foster, you travel a lot. Do you remember Northwest Airlines?
The name. I don't know if I ever flew.
Wow.
Let me
maybe as a young jit. Maybe as a young
Foster. I got
that's Detroit.
Foster, I got this. Foster is a devout Spirit airline passenger.
I haven't been a traveler that long. Not for my personal.
Airlines they got gobbled up and
by Delta, I think.
Yeah, Delta took them over and
wow.
Not even 20 years ago, Dave. Wasn't even that long.
Yeah, but they were headquartered out of Minneapolis and they had a major hub at Detroit. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Last time I flew to Detroit was on Northwest Airlines.
It was a good airline. I enjoyed flying on them. Good service, good people. Now, the last final GM is mine, Kwesi Adofo-Mensah. He talked briefly. He was asked about his extension, and he's basically, I'm not thinking about it. I'm at the busiest time of the year. Later, Mark Wilf, one of our owners, said, yes, we plan on getting it done. We want it done. It's just Kwesi's busy, basically, which is fine. But there was one name he mentioned that they're possibly looking at in the draft, and I don't know if it's to be a feint or if he actually is, and that's Donovan Jackson of Ohio State. What do you think of Donovan Jackson, June? You're a Buckeyes fan.
He lost to Michigan 4 times in a row, but 3 times in a row. So I'm okay with him.
He good in your book.
He's good in my book. He's not Maurice Clarett.
I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Now, but the bigger news comes from the coaches. And your coach, Dan Campbell, in particular, said something interesting. And it was about being aggressive. Hunger, to be exact. He wants his team to be hungry. Is he seeing something that they're going to get lax now that they were good for a few years and they're just going to rest on their laurels?
Maybe either that or Brad Holmes is not paying for a caterer to save money. You know how Brad does with the wallet.
He's cheap on the outside. He keeps he makes sure the inside is good.
Hey yo.
I didn't know how else to say it, but
yeah, you all just signed your biggest free agent deal under his tenure. What was it, last week or the week before last? Who was it again?
DJ Reed.
Yeah, DJ. Right, DJ Reed, and that was 16 a year.
13.
It pained him to spend it. He said, the foot in the door number was 16. So yeah, but
for a top flight corner,
top 10,
top quarter, whatever.
Yeah,
he's not by far.
He's not
He's better than good, He may not be elite, but he's better than good.
Agreed.
Right.
Interesting.
But you all still spend money, though. I mean, Penei Sewell.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
There's a difference, though. Those are draft picks that he drafted, and he wants to make sure they stay. So here he's maxing those out. He's not going out into the free agent market and paying top dollars, but he'll pay
other people's toys.
Yeah, he'll pay to retain you now.
Yeah. I like homegrown too.
Yeah, it's all good
it's
money.
Not necessarily all like he paid money for golf. You're like, this is your quarterback. This is who you're going to keep. He gave him an extension and a pay, but Amon St. Brown is one that he drafted that he definitely has paid. Hutch will be probably the next one. Those are people that he's definitely going to pay them like they're supposed to be paid.
Kirby, there's plenty of money to spend amongst the people that we know are all bought into what we got going on. So I don't really sweat him going and getting some outside.
But he's never been that. He's never been that person to go out in the free agency, spend a bunch of money. So it is what it is.
Is it possible that what Dan Campbell, as he's known in Miami, is it possible that he's being Brad Holmes' mouthpiece here, where he's saying that players need to stay hungry and not well fed, as in well paid? Shout out to Hutch. Is he saying that maybe you need to earn some of this money now because I want to see that hunger?
I think the latter of what you said is to stay hungry so you can earn that bigger payday more than anything. I think that's the message, is to stay hungry, play like you mean it, play like you want it, and you'll get rewarded. That's what I got from
it. Interesting.
You hear that, Hutch? You got to earn that. Stay healthy.
Mm-hmm.
I think Hutch has earned it. I think
Hutch has been healthy.
He had one injury. I mean, before that, he was playing very, very well. So I think he's earned it, especially after this season. This next season comes up and he does what he does. You can't tab him as a person that stays hurt or didn't earn it. You got to pay him.
Okay. It's obviously to deal with motivation of the team.
Yeah.
He's disappointed you guys got knocked out after one game in the playoffs.
Yeah, and stay hungry.
And he's trying to motivate the team, which any good coach should do, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
But interesting. Now, he also, speaking of a fellatio given by the Bears, he was giving it to his new defensive coordinator, Kevin Shepard. Tell us about that.
He believes in Calvin. Calvin was basically the defensive coordinator point two or whatever it is. He worked very closely next to Aaron Glenn. I think everyone was prepared for Aaron Glenn to be gone, and he basically was the understudy. And Shepard took it upon himself to make sure he learned the ins and outs of what it takes to be a coordinator, worked closely with Aaron Glenn, and did everything that was asked of him from a positional coach standpoint, and just basically being more vocal and just asserting his role. So he got a lot of praise from Dan Campbell. So we'll see how it goes. We know how it is with these promotions and this, that, and other. It's not guaranteed success. It takes a lot of work. It's a big difference from being a position coach to a defensive coordinator where you have to call the game defensively. Big difference. So we'll see. Maybe Dan has seen something early. Maybe Dan knows he can do what he has to do, but he's been a very, very vocal coach in years past, where he's coached up linebackers and he's done a good job with what he's had. We haven't had any elite linebackers, but he's done a phenomenal job with what we've had.
And you guys used to have very good linebackers, if I remember correctly.
I mean,
Back in the day.
you can go back to Steven Tulloch. You go back to Chris Spielman. I mean, those are some linebackers
They were good. I mean, they're not as notorious as the Bears, but
no, Bears is
Mr.
linebacker.
Briggs, Urlacher. Oh my God.
The Bears were linebacker like they had some linebackers. Butkus. We can go that far back. We can Wilbur Marshall.
Singletary?
Singletary.
yeah,
Big guys. Yeah.
All
Butkus.
names of guys who've flown on Northwest Airlines, by the way.
Thanks a lot.
We've had a few too. So
yeah, I mean, if you want to, the Bears have had ever so often that one special linebacker, generational linebacker. They seem to get them.
well, what I like is it seems that that special linebacker's coming back into style. You know, it was the big gap eating, running back eating guy.
Yeah.
I think Brian Urlacher that just, plowed forward.
I was an Urlacher fan.
Yeah.
Big time.
And he was very, very good. And now they've moved to the more coverage style. Well, I think they're getting back to a more hybrid that are doing both. And I think that's a good thing for football.
Yeah. You're going to need it with these athletic quarterbacks. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to need them. You're going to need that linebacker that can run sideline, that can do a lot of everything. Stop and run side to side, sideline, spy and cover. So
now to the Bears, Ben Johnson debuted as the head coach of the Chicago Bears for the first time at the NFL's owners meeting. How did those interviews go?
More of the same, very upbeat. He displayed his, what a lot of people say, very, I don't want to say over the top, but his very personable personality. That's what as they're doing in Chicago. It's not just the upper management. The media is doing it as well. It's a lot of, it's very full throated. Ben Johnson is the talk of the town. He's got the key to the city. I just hope he run off some wins, because you lose week one, we pulling that, evicting you very fast. He talked a lot about building a winner, building a sustained winner. Him and Ryan Poles, as a matter of fact, and what needs to be done from this point on, after free agency, going into camps, OTAs, and the draft, and how do we continue keeping that good mojo going. What I hope to see personally is a strong first night of the draft. I will hope not. I've seen a lot of mocks lately. The Bears getting a offensive weapon, the Bears getting a playmaker on offense. I will hope the Bears do not do anything like that. I will hope the Bears continue building up those fat boys, continue building up the trenches, because there is some very special players that put their hands in the dirt. I will hope that they continue going that route. And the reason why is not because I'm shell-shocked about what happened last year. I'm just more so, I want a new direction for this team. I want a direction for this team, and I'm hoping I'm getting that from Ben Johnson, as he is a new voice, a new, fresher voice. Nothing have we ever seen from McCaskey in his ownership days. Somebody who's actually very much an alpha when he walks into that room. Very much an alpha, not just from a personality standpoint, but from a football, I know what the F I'm talking about standpoint. Somebody in that way. And if you do that, drafting a running back, no shade to Jonty. If you draft somebody in that idyllic frame of mind, it tells me it's more of the same. More of the same of Bears just doing stuff, with no real sensible plan in place. I want to see the stuff that builds winners, consistent long-term winners. Yes, getting Joe Tooney. Yes, getting Jonah Jackson. Yes, getting my man out of Dalton. Dalton out of Atlanta. Those are great. Those are also not homegrown guys. Shout out to Detroit. The homegrowns are the best growns. Those are the guys that stay with your franchise 10 plus years. I'm looking at Mimbu. I'm looking at maybe Kevin Banks. I'm looking at
Who's the left tackle? Isn't
Mimbu's
Mimbu
a right
right?
tackle. No, we Braxton Jones was our left tackle the last 2 seasons.
Yeah, but who's the top left tackle in the draft?
I think Kevin Banks.
Okay, it
So
was
Mimbu and Will Campbell. No, actually Will Campbell. Will Campbell's a left tackle. Mimbu and Banks are the rights. They play right tackle.
Courtney was thinking they're going with the left tackle. That would be the.
I mean, that makes sense.
They may get the right and move somebody over, but
yeah,
she thinks they're going to go with the left tackle.
It would make sense because that's the next obvious need across that line. Left tackle, Braxton Jones. You know, he's not a scrub by any means, but he's not a starter for most teams either. He's functional, but he's we can upgrade. Mm-hmm. Right, we can upgrade. I would prefer him be a depth piece. I would prefer a younger, better, more pedigreed player over there watching Caleb's backside. Darnell Wright's another one. We did just draft him, so he's got a little bit more leash. But Mimbu, again, he's at the top of my wish list. Maybe an offer comes and some team that wears black and gold wants to trade up to 10 so they can draft Jackson Dart. And we can strip them of 5 future picks. I wouldn't be mad at that either. That would be my second thing on the wish list. But yeah, to all in all, what I heard out of Ben Johnson is that more so of that rah-rah, more so of this stuff that we got comfortable hearing out of Detroit the last few years. More of the optimism, more of the we gonna get it done because we believe it, we gonna work harder and we gonna fight. And I just love that for us. Go Bears.
Hey, it'd be interesting. Now, I did see that you guys signed Eric Bieniemy.
Yes, we picked the Bears hired him.
Yes.
Not recently. It was more so a month or
was it?
Not too much after they filled out most of the. I think he was the last coach hired. So this is sometime in February. But Eric Bieniemy, yes, the former offensive coordinator for the Kansas City Chiefs, he is now the Bears running backs coach. A little bit of a fall of grace because nothing he's saying to those men in that room is what I want to be delivered to anybody in that building. I think whoever his assistant is, why don't you go ahead and deliver that game plan to the running backs? Eric, we need Eric B. We need you down here in the quarterback room. Whatever secret sauce you gave to Pat, we need that right here.
Well, he had Peterson playing extremely well. He was our running backs coach when Eddie and Peterson was here. And
so that he does have some lineage tutelage he can give out to running backs. Peterson is a former MVP, right?
Yep.
Fair to have.
Last running back to win it. Yes.
Yeah, last ever. I don't think it's ever going to happen again. But yeah, if that's the case, yeah, we, you know what? You might have just changed my mind. Maybe we can draft a running back day one, Dave.
No, I agree with you. You got to build the lines, got to build the trenches. But T-Bass has a question for us. Give me 2 teams in the NFC outside of our division that you worry about the most.
2 teams,
Green Bay and the Redskins.
Outside of our division.
I'm not Green Bay. I'm
our division.
Philly and the Redskins. I'm sorry.
The Commanders.
They're Redskins to me. They always be the Redskins. Commanders, Eagles.
Okay.
For me, I I think I think one team has always got to be mentioned. As long as they have Pat Mahomes, you gotta put them on that list because, as we've said,
NFC.
It's in our
NFC.
conference.
I'm sorry. Okay, yeah, defending champs. They seem to do everything right in Philadelphia. They just know the type of player they want, and they go get them. And the next thing you know, they're just dominating everybody. So yeah, the Philadelphia Eagles. They're obviously a team that you're going to be reckoned with. Have you seen that offensive line? They're like basketball players. They're so
But I
big.
expect a little bit of regression because they lost quite a bit because they won.
Yeah.
But we'll see. T-Bass says the Eagles and the Rams for him.
Yeah, I can get with the Rams too. The Rams, they have a culture there that is going to be good for a long time until McVay finally leaves, maybe. That he's been hinting at for the last couple of years.
And no, not McVay. Who's the San Francisco coach?
His dad used to coach Shanahan.
Yeah, Shanahan. No, maybe it was McVay. Showed him when he started and showed him now. And now he's got bags under his eyes and he's got gray beard and gray hair and he just looks like he's aged 30 years.
Shanahan?
Not Shanahan, but McVay.
McVay has aged a little bit. Yeah.
So
he was like 25 when he got the job.
I know. And now he's what? Near 40, something like that, probably. Now, Matt LaFleur, our favorite coach that we love to pick on, he had a few things to say, but were they interesting? I mean, he's talking up about how he loves that Sean Mannion is his new quarterbacks coach. Sean Mannion was our backup for a while. Sean Mannion is an excellent clipboard holder and backed up Kirk Cousins. But, hey, it's just more fluff out of Green Bay for the best, best of it. He did brush off the Bears coach Ben Johnson's jab saying, I'm sure he's playing to the fans a little bit, and it was what it is. I'm going to not lose too much sleep over that. Did Ben Johnson say something about beating the Packers?
Bear down.
I think he did. And Northwest reminds me that our head coach, Kevin O'Connell's hair is thinning. Yes, it's noticeably thinning and rolling backwards. But that comes with age. And speaking of Kevin O'Connell, he's had a series of interviews that were very enlightening. Talked about what he's going to do this year. But the most enlightening was they discussed Aaron Rodgers and how, one, J.J. McCarthy is doing everything he's expected to do and beating it and is in there every day working out. He's throwing. Everything's fantastic. But it was that Aaron Rodgers had called the Vikings, called him in particular to say, I want to play. It was nothing that the Vikings did. It was all Aaron Rodgers initiated.
What? It's something weird with this guy. He's just going to lean into the Brett Favre thing just all the way, huh? That's just what he's doing.
Yeah, and that's what I think. But he's basically shut him down and said, nope. Unless there's the disaster, that's not going to happen. We're going with J.J. McCarthy. Everybody's happy with J.J. McCarthy. They can't wait to see him out on the playing field. He said he sort of redshirted, and he did absolutely everything he was asked of and more. The only thing he didn't do was throw last year because of his meniscus. So, and he can't wait for him to start out this year, and that it's going to be a good season, basically. He gave an update on TJ Hawkinson, said he's ready to go. Everybody's ready to go. The only one that there's a question about is the kid we just drafted or just signed out of Arizona, the short little wide receiver, diminutive wide receiver. He had a knee injury or something he's recovering from. But everybody else is ready to go for OTAs, which is slick. Gotta love that. But
that week that Aaron Rodgers hates the most, practice.
Practice. But Doc Proto says Rodgers calling us is like a MILF at the bar buying you a drink. Could be.
That good?
I was about to say, I think I might prefer that over Aaron Rodgers.
I mean, if it's Stifler's mom, you understand.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So.
Never seen that movie, have you, Foster? It's all right.
Come on. Now, see, this is getting.
Well, speaking of backup quarterbacks and moms, Wilson is available from what I gather.
Oh.
We're still looking for a backup quarterback. But
you're capable.
Mm-hmm. Somebody put on KOC's recovery list. So I think we covered it. Any last words there, June?
No, not really. I think this gets us a week closer to the draft, what we all been waiting for. It's going to be a very interesting draft. I think so. It's a lot of talent in this draft, so looking forward to it.
Foster, what's the score of the baseball game?
It is 2-3. We are in the top of the 9th inning, and we are trying to. We got 2 runners on, so we are trying to tie the ball game up and hopefully sweep the Seattle Mariners again.
Ooh,
did the same thing last year in Detroit.
Nick Riley says American Pie is GOAT. That is a great song. Oh, my. Absolutely. I got tons of memories.
Nick knows
being drunk and singing. Mm-mm-mm. Now, Pay, any last words?
You didn't ask, but the Cubs put up another cricket number, sweeping those Sacramento Athletics.
You swept them? Wow.
Well, I mean, it's top of the 9th, 10-2. I think we can call it.
Yeah. Aren't the Cubs one of the teams that's starting to use the torpedo bat?
Actually, no. But that wiffle ball, I'm sorry, the torpedo bat, unless we get an MIT scientist in here so we can, like, use it correctly, like what they're doing in Bronx, it might just be us, pandering. But, you know how we started the show, Dave. Hey, evolution comes for us all. We're gonna have these big Flintstone bats coming for every team sooner or later.
Yeah, I think a few Twins players are experimenting with them too. But the Yanks definitely have it locked down.
They've played 7 games. They got 15 home runs so far.
Yeah, that's crazy. All right. T-Bass says there's only 12 players with first round draft grades. Consensus-wise, yeah, it's probably about true, T-Bass, but every team's going to have a whole slew that they like, and they're going to differ from different teams. But there's only about 12 that everybody agrees on. It's a weird draft year. But we'll see that in 3 weeks. June, where can they find you?
You can find me and my co-host, Foster, and Coach on Bleachers and Speakers on YouTube and at all the aggregators. Anywhere you can listen to a podcast, you can find us, Bleachers and Speakers, FFSN, in your search. Make sure you're following us. Make sure that notification bell is on. So when we drop content, you'll get an alert. Download those episodes so we'll know who's listening and where you're at.
And you guys are hosting next week, right? No, Pay us.
No, Pay us.
Yeah, so back on me.
All right, Pay, where can they find you?
You can find us, this merry band of football bloviators, at the Frustrated Chicago Sports Fan channel next Wednesday, same bat time. Different bat channel. As Dave has it on the screen right there, Frustrated Chicago Sports Fans, where we bring you all of our upset takes and game reviews and all of the other nonsense coming out of Chicago sports scene. It's baseball season. The White Sox are going to be terrible. The Cubs are going to probably let us down, but we're going to bring you all of it from every which angle we can. The Bears, we got we have film on some of the prospects coming up before the draft. That's also widely available on our channel. You can check that out at YouTube. Frustrated Chicago Sports Fan Channel. Also on the audio side, anywhere you get your podcasts, at Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, and all the rest. Like, subscribe, share with a friend, unsubscribe, resubscribe, download, erase, re-download again. Appreciate you.
And it'll be next Thursday because Dave's moving starting early next week, and I will not be available on Wednesday. So cool. And you can find me, obviously everybody that's watching already has, on Vikings First and Goal. And we have obviously the YouTube channel with our 4 main shows. This one, Who Will Be King, every third week. We have 2 Old Bloggers with me and Darren. And as I told folks last night, 2 Old Bloggers this weekend is on hiatus because I'm moving. And for a week, just this Sunday. And we have Sal Spice. And she had a rocking show last night with Vikings Guy. He works at the stadium and has all sorts of inside information. And the banter was just a flying last night. So if you haven't watched it, tune in and watch it. You'll have a blast. It is fun. And yes, they pick on the Packers too. So it is always a great spot to get us on YouTube. You can get us on your favorite podcast aggregator and over at Fans First Sports Network. We're on the written side, just under Vikings. Or type in VikingsFirstandSkull.com and you'll be driven right there. With that, I want to appreciate everybody that's joined us today. You guys absolutely rock. T-Bass, you were late. We talked about the new stadium. It's most likely going in Arlington Heights. What? And you can see Pay's information. So it is what it is. What do we say, Pay?
Bear down from Arlington.
From Arlington.
The Bears.
All right. What do we say? Foster June?
Was vicious.
That was a healthy one.
Go Tigers. We just lost.
It happens, man. It happens. 1, 2 out of 3.
And as always, Skull Vikings! Like, subscribe, and rate us on your favorite podcast aggregator. Thank you for listening to this NFC North group effort on the Fans First Sports Network. This has been a frustrated Chicago sports fans, Bleachers to Speakers, Vikings First and Skull, and of course, the Fans First Sports Network production. Thank you for listening.